What's up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7. We got another episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast coming for you. We ditched the Welcome to Level 7 intro last week because it was just strictly Star Wars time. But we got some Marvel news we're going to be covering this week as well. So I figured I'd bring it back, dive into it. My name is TJ Zwarich, editor-in-chief of agentsofandom.com, joined, as always, by my co-host, director of content and editorial, Garrett Blaney. How you doing?
You know what? I'm tired. I'm really tired. I've been working really hard because the Agents of Fandom team has been working really hard, pumping out content. So shout out to them. Shout out to Adam Blevins, our producer, who's not here tonight, who's been holding it down with me. But yeah, that is the best problem to have, in my opinion. So we've been cranking it out, and I'm just pumped with our team, man. So shout out to the Agents of Fandom.
So many reviews, so many great editorials, some
news
phenomenal
pieces.
Informative lists, news pieces. They've just been going off the charts lately.
Yeah.
So impressive. So proud of this team. We are joined by a phenomenal guest, one of the most amazing people we have ever had on this podcast, with the wonderful Grogu right beside us, Rachel Leishman from the Mary Sue. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys? And by great,
doing
I also
well.
agree with Garrett. I'm so tired.
Yeah, you know that grind. You know that grind well.
Yeah, you guys are. It's so much fun all of a sudden seeing Agents of Fandom in press conferences. It's like me and then it's TJ, and I'm like, yeah, we asked questions.
We had like two in a row where both of us had questions like almost back to back, and we were like, "Hey!" It was so much fun. And I kind of buried the lead because Rachel, you've been grinding as well. It's not just Rachel Leishman of the Mary Sue; it's Rachel Leishman of the Mary Sue, Collider, Padre Pascal. It's so much. What have you been up to these days?
Dying. Just doing junkets, doing interviews.
Trying to learn how to be in 8 places at once.
Yeah, this Tuesday was crazy because I had to jump for like 4 different movies. I talked to Andy Serkis and I fully haven't processed that one. And then just more of the same on Wednesday and Thursday. Had to go to see Adam Driver shoot dinosaurs today at like 12. So I'm all over the place mentally. So it's been
I'm curious to hear your spoiler-free thoughts on that. I've heard that there's some not great reviews, so I'm curious.
Oh, see, I had fun. Here's how I get people to go see that movie. Adam Driver headshoots a T-Rex. Fully just like shoots the T-Rex directly in the head, and the T-Rex falls to the ground. And that's what you're getting.
That's a sales pitch.
Where he's using a gun against a dinosaur. It's a crazy premise in general, but I had fun. But also, I went in there being like, Adam Driver's gonna shoot a gun at a T-Rex, and that's what I saw. I knew what I was getting myself into.
Fantastic.
Before any real twists or turns in what my expectations were versus what that movie was. But I had the time of my life. He was like, and I was like, great. That's what I thought I was going to get.
Yeah, that's all I needed to hear, honestly. That makes me happy.
Expectations play such a huge part of the movie-going experience. And I'm interested to hear about how your conversation with Andy Serkis went, too, because that was my, very first ever, celeb conversation I got to have in this industry. Was I was listening to the Phase Zero podcast, and Brandon Davis was like, hey, I got some extra tickets to the New York premiere of Venom Let There Be Carnage. Who wants to go? And so I sent him a DM, and I was like, I'll go. And my mom and I flew to New York, had a great time. And then Andy Serkis, we were given the option in the theater to ask Andy Serkis some questions because he was there. And I snapped a picture with him. And then I had this well thought out question in my head of so, Venom Let There Be Carnage, you're Alfred in Batman, Planet of the Apes, Lord of the Rings. What draws you to the world of fantasy and the world of sci-fi? And the thing that popped out of my mouth was, who would win in a fight between Venom and Ulysses Claw? And in that tone, and it was just, I've grown since then.
Hey,
that's incredible.
That's a good starting off point because it can only go up from there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You can only
And
meet
it
him
has.
again and say, "Hey, I freaked out and said this to you, and I'm so sorry."
Speaking of Venom, there's some crazy potential plot leaks about what Venom 3 could have going on in the internet right now, but that's not what we're going to be covering. The Marvel news I want to talk about is Daredevil Born Again, beginning shooting next week in New York. Little tagline out the kitchen. Before we even get into the casting rumors, obviously this is filming in Harlem, and so it's going to be pieces of New York, but we just saw Matt in LA in She-Hulk. We now are going to get him in different parts of New York. Do we think we could see a bit of an expanded story here with just like, I feel like Daredevil Born Again could be one of the most interactive throughout the MCU types of Disney Plus shows that we've gotten in a long time. What do you think, Garrett?
Like in terms of him traveling around?
Traveling around, interacting with different heroes, interacting with different villains. That kind of will carry this into the next part. Jon Bernthal returning as the Punisher. Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin will be a main player in the series. We still don't know. There's no Foggy and Karen yet, or at least no that the actors who played them weren't on the call sheet yet. I think we could see a lot of different cameos from a lot of different players in the MCU.
I just want to be real clear. Are you essentially saying that he is is
he getting out the kitchen?
The night nurse of like the Netflix like the night nurse Rosario Dawson, she was like the connecting tissue of those in the beginning. Are you kind of saying like he's going to be the connective tissue of I like that. Yeah, I can totally see that. And yeah, I'm super stoked for this. We know it's going to be 18 episodes, so we're going to have a lot more time to explore those kind of things. So yeah, I think that's probably a pretty good assumption. And I like that.
One of the people we know he's going to see, Rachel, is Jon Bernthal's Punisher. He is back, coming confirmed in the MCU. I don't want to get into the canon versus non-canon conversation because I don't really care. The Netflix verse happened either in the main MCU timeline or a different one. Who cares, really, to me? But the Punisher's back. That's the part that I'm fired up about.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I hope he screams. Because I love whenever Jon Bernthal would just ugly scream on that show, and he did it all the time. I'm really excited about it. I do have one question for you though, TJ. You said they're filming in Harlem. Why?
There's a piece that people saw in New York. I'll pull up the text to Garrett I saw here so I don't mess it up. But it was there was a no parking sign in Harlem for Daredevil Born for Out the Kitchen, Daredevil Born Again for starting next week.
Here is my thing. Why do they keep filming here? Are they trying to make Hell's Kitchen look bigger than it is? Hell's Kitchen is 8 blocks. And to this day, when I bring this up all the time, I'm sure my friends hate me for it. The scene, and I think it's the first episode ever of Daredevil, where Foggy and Matt are talking, they are standing in Brooklyn. And I know this because I knew exactly where they're standing at the Bedford L stop because I can see the Dunkin' Donuts behind them. And I was like, that's Brooklyn. You're telling me this is Hell's Kitchen, but that is Brooklyn. And I know it's Brooklyn. And all I want out of this Daredevil show is for them to actually like be accurate to where things are in this city, and that is not giving me confidence. That makes me feel great that they're filming in Harlem. Unless you're seeing Luke Cage, why are you out there?
So that I guess, like, if there's anything, if it's a film shoot in Harlem starting Monday, March 13th at 6 a.m. It says no parking, and the project name is Out the Kitchen. And so, I mean, if he's out of Hell's Kitchen, maybe that's why he's in Harlem.
That's why he's in Harlem. That's fine. Matt, apologies. If you are now in Harlem, you're hanging out with Luke Cage. Apologies.
The logic. So we'll accept.
I am very excited about Bernthal. I do hope. I wanted the next announcement to be Jessica, because technically that's who should have been next. Like, I wanted them to just start announcing them in the order of the Netflix series. I guess technically it's still correct because Jessica Jones season 2 Jessica Jones had already started, so no.
Yeah.
But her and Mike Coulter keep hinting things, and I'm very excited it's Bernthal, but I want Jessica Jones back.
So that, I guess, is a good question. We obviously know Charlie Cox is back as Daredevil, Vincent D'Onofrio, Jon Bernthal. Who of the big four of the Defenders do you want to be returning in their roles back to the MCU?
Me, I want Kristen Ritter, I want Mike Coulter, and I want Tom Pelphrey as Ward Meacham, because I love Ward Meacham.
I accept that. Yeah, I that's a good take. You know what? That's a good take. That's a good take, but not Finn Jones.
Oh, and Jessica Henwick. Like Jessica Henwick.
Yes.
Come back every day of the week. But I love Ward Meacham. That's like the fact that show ended with him being like, I got a kid now. Let's go on this weird adventure together. I was like, great. I'll go on that adventure. Where are we going? And then the show got canceled. I was like, no.
The number one Ward Meacham stan, Rachel Leishman. I agree with the Jessica Henwick take. I love that so much, and I really want Kristen Ritter back. Mike Coulter, I feel like he's just got a lot going on right now. You know, he's playing. He's ship. He'll be train. He'll be automobile. And so
I love Lamp.
Evil. He's an evil.
Exactly, and so just all these different one-word titles. And so I don't know if we'll get Mike Coulter back as Luke, but I definitely do want Jessica Jones as Chris Ritter back as Jessica Jones, and hopefully a new Iron Fist, whether it's a new Danny Rand Iron Fist or if they just don't decide to go elsewhere from Danny Rand. I don't think that would necessarily be the worst thing either. Next thing I want to bring up is with them bringing the Punisher in, and obviously the Kingpin is going to be sort of the main antagonist here, or one of the main antagonists here. Do we think Punisher is going to be more on the protagonist or antagonist side? And 18 episodes of Daredevil Born Again, could this potentially be leading into, plot-wise, Spider-Man 4, with this being in New York City, with this being involved with the Kingpin? Rachel, you're nodding heavily. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the reason the show is so long and the reason we haven't really heard anything about Spider-Man is there's for sure going to be some connection, because we don't know when anyone is going to remember who Peter Parker is, but we do know that like Matt Murdock at least knows he defended Spider-Man, so they have a relationship. And it was weird in Hawkeye that Spider-Man didn't show up because it is set in New York City, and there was a big old fight with a Spider-Man villain. But I do think that Daredevil would be the one, because Daredevil and Peter are both street level heroes. And I think what you were saying earlier about Daredevil kind of like interacting, I think he is going to be the central piece of the street level Avengers and the street level superheroes. So like Spidey, Yelena, Kate Bishop, like all of the ones who are in New York and they're not, gods, are going to be kind of all connected through at least that series, or at least characters through in this.
Yeah.
Ryan in chat right now brought up a good point that I do think this could be something that we're leading to in the MCU. Do you think, Garrett, we could potentially see Mayor Fisk of New York City?
I mean, it's possible, yeah. I don't think so, though. I mean, it's definitely possible given the connections that we've seen in the Hawkeye show with Kate Bishop's mom, whose name is Damon is
Eleanor.
Damon is gonna murder me. It's Ruben, you gotta cut this right now. Damon's gonna murder me. I gotta get off the Hawkeye subject. But yeah, I think given what we've seen in that show, I think it's definitely possible. But I don't know if I necessarily.
Damon's getting troll comments on his TikToks, and somebody's just like putting things on there. You're lame because you like Hawk Guy, and I just thought that was hilarious.
Damon catches strays for his takes or for his loves all the time, and I feel bad about that. Except for the one thing except for the Avengers game, which I'll never condone any love for that. So all hate for that is cool for Damon, but nothing else. But yeah, again, back to Mayor Fisk. I don't know. It's possible. For me, it's a eh. I don't like it.
I want to see Spidey back in New York for the fourth one and just messing around, in trouble, thriving in some ways, struggling in other ways. And so I would love to see if he shows up in the show. That would be wild. But I would love to see from a plot standpoint with Kingpin and that leading into this. I just get so many thoughts from way back in the day watching Spider-Man the animated series, and like Peter Parker is in trouble and Matt Murdock is representing him, but then Spider-Man and Daredevil, not knowing who each other were, run into each other trying to clear Peter Parker's name and fight each other before they team up. Like that would just be chef's kiss to get something like that in the MCU. So I would love that. Fingers crossed. But the main focus of today's show is not Daredevil Born Again, which is still long in the future. It is time for our boy right beside Rachel, Grogu. Time to enter the studio of Agents of Analysis and dive into The Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode 2, Mandalore. Rachel, what have you thought of these first 2 episodes so far?
I love them. I have the time of my life.
Yes.
My husband's looking hot. My son is popping off. I had so much fun in both episodes. I'm obsessed with Bo-Katan being the only person who told Din he's in a cult. Everyone else was like, "No, man, it's cool." And no. Bo-Katan was like, "It's a cult, man," and she would know. But
she would know. Yes,
she would know.
She led the cult at one point.
But I like him a lot. I think it's fun. Seeing Grogu starting to kind of talk and like have an attitude is really cool. And I do love. I said this on Padre Pascal yesterday, but I think the second hottest thing that Din Djarin has ever done is when Grogu is spinning in the chair, in the first episode, and he's just talking, then he just grabs the chair and stops it at one point, and I was like, "That's my husband."
He's got those dad reflexes.
Yeah, I was like, "That's my husband." But yeah, I love him. I think the second episode obviously has a lot more to unpack, but I think they are both just very good episodes.
And we can kind of begin unpacking. Garrett, I'll let you lead the way here because we both enjoyed episode 1. I loved episode 2, but you brought up that this may be your favorite Mandalorian episode yet.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. I'm rethinking that a bit, but it's definitely up there. I think I was just really hyped at the ending because that was crazy to me. But yeah, there's a lot to love about this episode. I think my one note is I wish that we didn't maybe see the like Grogu trailer moment where he pushes the Alamite like out of the cave, because when I watched that, I was like, wow, if this happened organically while he's like speeding away in his little his pod. I love the camera angles there too. Some super fun stuff there. But I felt like that would have been so much cooler if I didn't see that in a trailer. But to that point, it feels like 95% of the trailer has been shown now in these first 2 episodes. So like where we're going now is just so open-ended that it's a lot of speculation, honestly, and I'm super excited. My favorite part about this episode, sorry, TJ, my favorite part about this episode, I alluded to it last week, but I didn't want to like say too much because obviously we were under embargo and can't spoil anything, but it really felt like a video game with like enemies respawning as you like go through similar territories that you've like already been, and then you leave and then you come back and like the enemies are there again, and it just felt super fun. I enjoy the pacing of it. I didn't think that there was really any issues with that. I thought it moved along really awesomely, and so yeah, I love this episode a lot. I'll stop blabbing.
No, you're good. It gives me very, just referencing your point about the trailer, it gives me big Avengers Endgame vibes where all of a sudden we heard like a week before the movie or however long before the movie that, yeah, everything you've seen in the trailer, that's actually from the first 15 minutes of the movie. And that's kind of what it feels like here. It's everything we've seen in the trailer is from the first 2 episodes. And one of one of my favorite kind of, I don't know if trope is even the right word, but for this type of shows is like, I love the gathering of a squad. Like, I love a squad getting together. I don't need cameos from everywhere. Like, don't get me wrong. I'd love to see Ahsoka. I'd love to see Sabine. But for me, it's not about cameos. It's about the building of a squad. And Britt in chat brought up a really great point. That like before the season, just looking through the trailers, it kind of seemed like Bo-Katan might be an antagonist in this season, whereas we've seen kind of, at least so far, seems like she's joining up on a squad with Din, and they might be building a little friendship here. That's something that really excited me, but of course that we'll get more to that in a bit, and that couldn't happen without our man Grogu stepping up this episode. I brought up how in these first two episodes, I thought this is like the cutest we've seen him be, as he's just like inching towards trying to talk, hopping around, using the Force. This has been Grogu's time to shine, Rachel.
Yeah, it has. I love one of my favorite. There's a couple parts of this episode that I mean, I love the episode a lot. But him in particular, there's a couple parts that I think is genuinely the cutest thing I've ever seen. When the Pelimoto is like, "Where's my guy?" and he just like pops up and smiles at her, and then when he is pointing at things, when he's learning how to fly, and he's pointing at nothing. Like if you look, he's pointing at like the wrong thing, and it is genuinely funny because he's just like this, and it's just his little face doing this is the cutest thing I have ever seen. I'm just like, it's so cute, it's so little, and I love it. Clearly.
Yeah.
I was talking last night, like if I collected, I said this on Podro, but if I collected all of my Grogu things, most of which people bought me, I did not buy myself, it would be embarrassing. Yeah, times that by like 5 at minimum. Because my mom bought me something meant for like a child that is like a big old plaque that has like how to feel emotions. And they're all different Grogus. And adult me hung it up on my wall. Because I was like, my mom bought it for me. I'm going to hang it up.
Hell yeah.
But just so much Grogu around my home because I love him. He's so little.
It's just good vibes. How can you have bad vibes when you have like a million Grogus around?
Of importance.
Yes, of great importance.
He had it with him. He knew.
I can't wait to get to that.
It does. So that's it's been a big Grogu episode. That's you brought up Peli, and that's my one qualm from this episode and from these first two episodes is now I understand for the plot why it happened, because just the way this R5 droid was interacting with everybody, it was great, it was fun, and it was necessary for the flying back to go see Bo-Katan. You needed the navigational droid in there, right? I get that. But from Din going from like episode 1 being like, I trust no droids, like mine needs to be taken back from the dead. I don't care how great all these droid smiths are and that you're going to give me one for free. You're going to give me a top of the line droid for free. I don't want it. I'm going to go to Peli, and after her saying no one time, I'm just going to accept this junkyard droid. That was the one I was like, Din
is an adventurer.
But TJ, you have to remember that Din Djarin is a himbo. And so all it takes is one person being like, nah, man, this is what you need to do. And I'll go. Okay. Like, if someone knows more than him and he knows that, he will listen to them. And Peli does. And so he just went with it. Because he is my sweet, dumb. He's so dumb. This episode proved it. Like, he almost died 3 times. And he's just like, I gotta go to the water, though. Like,
yeah. And he's an oaf with the Darksaber. He is just an oaf. Like, we've had a 2-year time gap, and this man still wields it like it's twice his weight.
It goes, like, every time he's like,
he almost falls off the cliff.
I'm so hoping we see some type of moment in this season. Like, if I were to hope for one moment in this season, and like let's get ready. Adam's not here, but like let's get ready to clip this for later. For if it happens, would be Mando's in trouble again. You know, Din's struggling. Somebody got the better of him after he tried to use the Darksaber, and then Grogu just and pulls it to himself and swings it around and slashes somebody up. That's what I want out of the season finale. Like, that's what I want, is him to just grab that thing and just. But on that note, like, he is.
Yeah,
he
Din can't even wield it. What do you mean?
He can utilize the Force, man. Din can't take.
Yeah, you're right.
Din can't force push giant creatures either.
But I do think he would look like you're a baby if he held a big old dark saber above his head. Like, it wouldn't look badass. It would look like that. You're like, that's so funny.
I know, and I'm okay with it. I love it. I would love it so much. But this like brings us to the next point I want to cover, because not just the ability to wield the dark saber, but it was just getting chucked around this episode. And so obviously we saw when Bo-Katan picked it up to defend Din Djarin's life, she was using the shit out of that thing. Like, she has used it before. She knows what she's doing. It is light to her. It's light to her. She has no problem with it at all. Somebody clarify the rules to me here of the dark saber, because
you have to want, like, you as a human have to want to wield it. I want to connect with it. And I think Din's problem...
not based on the heaviness of it, but does Bo-Katan not want it back?
No.
Because he technically just lost it, and then she beat the person's ass who wielded it from her.
That's not how that works.
No, you have to win it in battle.
Yeah, she would have to... Din has it. He didn't lose it in battle. He dropped it. There's a difference.
Yeah.
He was won captured. He won it in the battle against Moff Gideon. And so she has to win it in the battle.
Because he lost that battle before it begun, it didn't count as the ritual when he was captured.
Yeah, no, she's like, all right, so she's a former queen, like ruler of Mandalore.
I know that
she knows like the rule. She knows this sword. She has a very intimate relationship history with it. She knows like. That's part of the reason when Din goes for the first time, she's like, they won't even follow anymore because they know I didn't win it in battle. So you go to take them to Mandalore. I don't even care anymore. Like, she's out of it. So she knows, like, this means nothing to me. But her weapon set is not equipped for this boss, this video game boss, essentially. Yeah. So she has to pick up this weapon to beat this boss. And then she's honorable. So she places it back for him to grab after, because there's rules to this weapon. So that's basically what I got out of it.
Here's what I'll say, because we've seen Bo-Katan in the past try and semantic her way into leadership, try and bend rules, bend lines into her way into getting to the top position. And I think the way she handled the Darksaber in this episode, not in terms of the heaviness, but in terms of just so nothingless giving it back to him, I think that speaks to her being done, being, I've not necessarily just being done, but feeling defeated on just like her quest to save Mandalore and reunite the people, but also prove that she's a lot further on the side of morals and light than she used to be. And the reason I say this is because she could semantic her way into this one being like, well, that thing was in his holster and that being ripped it out and captured him. And then I kicked that being's ass. Therefore, it won it from him. I won it from it. It's mine again. Everybody, I have it. And because she doesn't even have interest in that, whereas I think that speaks a lot to where her character is now versus where her character was in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I think she's definitely grown as a character through Clone Wars and Rebels, and I think it's been a marked improvement. And I think that wasn't really news to me, to be honest. Like, I feel like I saw that in the last season of The Mandalorian when she says, like, I can't take this from you, you know, like, I have to win this in battle. Like, they've already been through this. This is
I know, and so that was whereas this situation is different, is where she could go, if she was still the same old Bo-Katan as she was in the Clone Wars, she would go, I did just win this in battle.
I don't think she would have then, though, to be honest with you. Like,
no, because they know Din, and Din's still alive. I think Din...
She's always been, like, honorable. She's always had a code, a rule set that she follows. Like, whether she's been doing shitty things in the name of that code, you know, is one thing or another. But she's always been an honorable person, I think.
we'll agree to disagree on that one, but I think that was an interesting conversation on it. I don't think you're wrong or I'm wrong. I just think I think this is going to come back to it of her lack of willingness to lead in the future. I don't think she will even want to wield it if it is a thing anymore.
And I agree that this eventually doesn't matter because that's how the episode ends. We have a new out. We have a new thing that it doesn't matter. The Darksaber doesn't matter anymore. Din can wield the Darksaber and she doesn't have to beat him in battle. But based on the lore and the legends of Mandalore, Mandalore the First beat the Mythosaur, killed a Mythosaur, and that's how like they started. That's how like, he like got his reign and his people. So we now know the Mythosaur is not a mythical beast anymore, which is what was thought. It's a real thing. We have proof of it, and now you beat the Mythosaur, and everyone sees you as the ruler of Mandalore. Din gets to keep the Darksaber. 2 birds, 1 stone. Problem solved.
I don't think he wants.
That's
You don't care.
That's kind of what I'm getting at, Rachel, is I think this is going to be a theme throughout the season of the reluctant leader, of Bo-Katan has tried to rally her people so many times and has failed. Din just wants to have his bath and have his people accept him again. He doesn't want to lead the entire people. And I think
his people are the enemy.
I fucking hate them. Sorry, I swore. I was so mad.
They're terrorists.
I was so mad in that first episode because they would all be dead. Din saved them, and the armorer was such an ass to him and was like, "What are you doing here? He's saving you. You all would have been dead." He swooped in and saved everyone. Otherwise, everyone, the whole Children of the Watch would be dead. And instead of recognizing that, he was like, "I'm gonna go bathe myself so I could be one with you guys again." So you can no, love yourself, Din. Good, stop, because they don't care.
Yeah, they're domestic terrorists. You should not be associating with these people. They are not who you think. But I think that's where the storyline of the rest of the season goes, right? It's been alluded to. She said, they're a cult. You're a child of the Watch. She obviously knows she was a leader of the Death Watch at one point. So it's going to be her, him realizing, you've been on the wrong side of it this whole time. There is a creed, but that creed, the one that the Death Watch follows, is not the way. That is not the way. That's where I think that this season is going to go.
Going to be Bo-Katan on this extreme and Din on this extreme. And after what we saw at the end of that episode, I think they're going to start going like this and meeting more in the middle, because Din, throughout that whole experience, was like, nothing is magical about this. I'm going into some water and then I've almost died a third time in this water. I think he's going to come out and be like, what was the fucking, that wasn't anything I thought it was supposed to be. That was some magical thing, and I was going to be back to being a Mandalorian, and instead I almost died. And I think she, having seen the Mythosaur, was going to be like, everything I thought was a myth and a legend seems to maybe be true. So maybe everything I thought was bullshit isn't. And they're going to start kind of actually having conversations versus, I think what you think is stupid, I think what you think is stupid. And actually start to work together to kind of rebuild Mandalore, especially because we know Mandalore is a breathable planet and not in ruins like they thought.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree with that. I love that is 100% what happens. He has no, by the way, he has no proof of this too. How's the armor, what's the armor gonna do? You have no proof of this, bro.
What's he gonna bring back? I said, what's he gonna bring back?
He's the water from the mines.
The robot chicken thing that they murdered. He's just tie it onto the ship and be like, "Let's go. I gotta show where I beat this chicken robot." I don't understand what you just gonna bring a rock and be like.
Just takes a little camera out from his suit and just pops a little selfie, and he shows it to the armorer. But before we dive specifically into the Mythosaur, one part before I forget that I still want to get in here is I think the season's going to have kind of 3 underlying plots. One, exactly like you said, Rachel, between Bo-Katan and Din and the meeting of their perspectives. One between Din and Grogu of I'm teaching you the ways of the Mandalorian as we're seeing him. This is this moon. This is this moon. You have to be able to navigate. We're seeing Din play a lot more of a narrator role in this season. And so I think that is obviously going to be the second one of Grogu's growth of Jedi Mandalorian and what that becomes it to. And I think the third is going to be the reunification of the Mandalorian people, and not necessarily Death Watch, but the reunification of the Mandalorian people. And I think the armor, like Britt said in chat earlier, could lead to be a main antagonist throughout this season. But I don't think Bo-Katan or Din want to be the dark saber wielding rallier at this point in their story. And I think we are going to need and still going to meet someone else, other people, to be taking on that mantle. And I'm really hoping it's time. If you're watching us on YouTube in the future, hit the like button. If you're watching us on Twitch right now, you get to see it. But Sabine, she's holding the Darksaber right here in the toy. It might be time for Sabine and or some more Mandalorians to be brought into the fold here. And I would love an Ahsoka introducing Sabine to Din.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I do think, there's been one Mandalorian Jedi in the past who has the dark, who that's where the Darksaber came from. I think it makes sense to have another Mandalorian Jedi maybe in the future.
Yeah.
In the future.
Yeah. Sabine, then Grogu.
All I care about is I just want Din to know the history of the group he's associated with. Like, you are the sole reason this planet is like this right now. Well, I mean, besides the Empire, you're the reason that Mandalore was weak enough to be taken by the
up with
Empire.
Darth Maul.
Yeah. Oh. You guys had Maul helmets, man.
I think he'll realize, I think he's gonna figure it out and it's gonna go bad. Because I do think he's gonna, he's already kind of been questioning things, not intentionally, but we saw when he was willing to take off his helmet twice, he was it doesn't make, I'm not going to die or not get the information I need. I would rather take off my helmet with the episode with Bill Burr. And then when he took it off to say goodbye, it's I think he is starting to be it doesn't make sense. These aren't showing weaknesses. This is me showing emotion and that I care. Where they're all no, your helmet, I gotta stay on. And then I think he doesn't agree with it, but he doesn't know how to voice that other than, oh, I put it back on. It's okay. And so I think after this episode, he is going to start questioning some more stuff. And so I do think he'll find that out about the Children of the Watch, because we've already gotten hints about him learning about what happened to Mandalore. So it'll be really interesting to see what the Children of the Watch say happened to Mandalore versus what Bo-Katan thinks.
Yeah, and she was there, so she has a direct account of everything. I just want it to be told, man.
Shout out Katie Sackhoff one more time for being Bo-Katan in animation and in live action, and she is just so absolutely incredible, crushing this role. Is it time to talk about the big dragon dinosaur alligator at the end, the mythosaur? It's here. The myth of the Mandalorians, what Mandalore the Great united his people for the first time on the planet after destruction. What their whole creed is based on. He's here. The mythosaur is here. It was in the depths. What I think is cool about this is, to me, this is kind of we don't know what is at the depths of the Earth's oceans everywhere, it hasn't all been discovered because it's so deep and the pressure's so great. Well, eventually, when the next big apocalypse happen and all the people are gone, the Earth is going to be fine. It's just all of us that aren't. And eventually things are going to move to different parts than they were previously. And I feel that's kind of the vibe I'm getting here now is all the mythosaurs weren't ever gone. They were just drawn deep, deep, deep underground, deep into these mines, deep into the living waters. And they are back much closer to the surface. And obviously that is going to be a very big plot point going forward. Garrett, what did you think when you saw the mythosaur?
Yeah, I was freaking out. I freaked out. I screamed, I think, and I was just like, I knew what it was immediately. The eye opening, like the sheer size of it, the whole scene is so cool with her, like, she can't see where he is because they both have their lights on, and then she turns hers off to see where his is, and then she finds him, and then all of a sudden on the way up, the reveal is just incredible. So I think just that reason alone, it's at least top 2 favorite episodes. If I walk back my earlier statement a little bit, but it's just yeah, I think we have a big bad to see, or a boss battle, if we're going to continue my video game analogy from earlier, and I think that's going to be crazy fun to watch.
Rachel, what did you think when you saw it? But also, what is a mythosaur?
A mythosaur is a big old animal, and it's a myth. You know, here's what I love about Star Wars.
Is
It's not a myth now, but they really do name things. Because before we thought it was a myth or a legend, and his name is a mythosaur. So it's like, oh, good job. You guys are so smart. You named the thing mythosaur that you made into a myth. But I think seeing it was cool because it was just like, all right, like they are, like that was the moment for me that made me be like, yeah, they are for sure going to start switching, like meeting more in the middle about what they think. Because it was a really great way of making Bo-Katan stop and think about everything she thought she knew, because you could have done a lot of things, like there could have been a lot of reveals or like moments there, like I don't know, the water could have done something, or she could have known like whatever he was doing, because you could tell in the way he was responding to her in moments that she was starting to be like, okay, maybe I was being too harsh on the way of the Mandalorians that I am a part of. Like maybe I had given up my ways too soon, because when he said this is the way, like she stops and kind of like looks at him and is like, oh, right, like there are still people who like really believe in the way of the Mandalorians. Where
obviously this is like
whatever.
not one for one, but it reminded me a lot of the conversation between Shuri and Ramonda and Wakanda Forever. And then just like all of them kind of finding out like, wait, there is vibranium somewhere else. So like all these myths we were told they weren't 100% accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the meantime, when Shuri goes to the ancestral plane, she's like, wait, some of this is real. And just kind of like that similar meeting of two polar opposite perspectives, kind of realizing we're in the middle.
Yeah. And I think that you could have done it a lot of different ways, but I think having the mythosaur be real and there, and her seeing it and not like, you know, Din coming back up and being like, what the fuck was that? I think really kind of sets the tone of he was knocked out. I don't know that he saw it, but she did. And so I think that's going to really kind of set a future of like figuring out. I think you're right. I think introducing the mythosaur with the legends, like you said, that the mythosaurs were, according to legend, I believe, they were the things that ruled and lived on Mandalore prior to the Mandalorians, and then the Mandalorians came and defeated one, and that is when kind of like, I want to call them humans, they're just Mandalorians, but like the humanoid Mandalorians ruled the planet.
Those settler bastards. I described
it. They colonized the shit out of it.
Colonizing bastards. I described it as a dinosaur, crocodile, dragon thing. But if you really want to know more about the mythosaur, check out agentsofandom.com, where our wonderful Layla wrote a piece, everything you need to know about the Mandalore's giant mythical beast, the mythosaur. And it looks a lot like a mammoth.
Head.
True.
It's a mammoth head with a lizard body.
I accept that.
And an alligator mentality.
I don't know if it has an alligator mentality because I feel like they would not have made it out of that pond. I say pond. It's definitely not a pond.
Yeah, I
but...
mean, we did see that alligator thing last time that was literally spinning around. Like...
Yeah, that guy had an alligator mentality for sure. For sure. I know they're the size of cities, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you sounded like such a just like creative in a room where it's like, well, so what do we want to make the mythosaur look like? Well, it's got the head of a mammoth and the body of a lizard.
But the vibe of the unicorn.
Yes.
The vibe. It is the mythosaur is like kind of when you stop and think about it for too long, it is kind of the idea that people have about the megalodon. Where it's like, were they real? Like, we don't know, but also maybe, and then they could still be down there. To your point earlier, TJ, where you were like, we don't know what's in the bottom of the ocean. Like,
it's a mythosaur.
I don't want that thing to be real. It's a mythosaur, not a megalodon.
Not a real.
I don't want that thing to be real, but it's not a mythosaur.
I'm sorry.
This episode set up so much while still just being so adorable with Grogu flopping around. Yeah. It was one of the episodes where Din Djarin, our main character, really doesn't do all that much. He is only in the first half of it, you know? Like, yeah, he's
saved by yeah. It's just him he's the damsel in distress.
Crushed. Yeah, exactly. He's the himbo in distress throughout the entire episode. But it was so enjoyable to watch. We get people like Pelly just getting to see our old favorites again. We get to see some of our new favorites in Bo-Katan in heavy fashion, like in both in dialogue and in action. And then Grogu is the more front and center than he has ever been before. Everything from the trailer, at least almost everything. There was a scene we saw where a bunch of Mandalorians were blasting off. We haven't seen that yet. But almost everything we've seen from the trailer, it's
probably 95%. It's a massive amount. Like,
it's crazy. Yeah, like it's nuts. So based on that, like, Rachel, what do you think we see going forward? What do you hope we see going forward? And even if it's just, I want my husband to stay sexy and my son to keep bopping around, that's fine too.
Well, first of all, we got to see Din Djarin walk into a room because he always knows how to make an entrance. And every time we haven't seen that from the trailer where he walks into like the Mandalorians when they're standing there. That one we haven't seen yet because that was where I said, hell yeah, there's the season 3 entrance because he always has some entrance that he makes throughout the season.
The other thing that I forgot to mention before that your point you just made me think of this in respect to Bo-Katan and Din's getting closer together in perspective and Din progressing away from the Death Watch. Jon Favreau already said, we have no plans for this to end. I've already written season 4. Jonathan Majors probably almost has sexiest man of the year locked up, but if for some reason it wasn't him, it would be Pedro Pascal. And those two have he's one of the most popular stars on the planet right now, and he's just boomed like crazy. They're probably going to have to get us to some point where he's just walking around with his helmet off more often because they'll just get more people watching it probably.
I was going to say I do think that's going to happen, and also The Last of Us is going to take a while to film. Depends where they go with that show. I'm not saying anything further about The Last of Us because I don't know what people know about that game. But I will say I do think we're gonna have it. That's where I want the season to go. Not just because I want to see Pedro Pascal's face. I do. I love his face. I love seeing his face on The Last of Us. So thank God it's his face. But I do think that the path that they are taking is taking Din further and further away from the Children of the Watch. I think he's going to start taking his helmet off more. I don't think he's going to fully be like Bo-Katan, where she's just like, I put it on when I have to. I think he's going to kind of still have it on a lot, but like
Speaking of Jonathan Majors, Bo-Katan doing her Kang the Conqueror.
I was gonna say, her in that throne room. I'm glad she has a blanket. But like, girl, what are you doing for fun? I said again, not to bring up Padre Pascal again, but I did say on Padre Pascal, I wanted to get her like a Switch, play Dreamlight Disney Dreamlight Valley, like sit there and play, have some fun, because she's just.
I thought about that. I thought about that. I was like, this is a big ass room, and she's just sitting here waiting on this guy to walk up.
The droid.
The droid had to been like, yo, there's a ship coming. Get your clothes on. Stop watching. Reruns of Below Deck, and let's fucking, let's talk to. Let's greet this guy.
Let's go talk to the little green baby.
Drama. She is on top of that Vanderpump Rules drama.
Yes,
like,
yes.
Scandal.
Speaking of Rachel, you should check out our most recent episode of the Ticket to Reality podcast, where we had Brian Clark of season 5 of The Circle join us, and he just spent about 20 minutes of it just like spilling the Vanderpump Rules tea, and it was such good content.
That me, number one RuPaul's Drag Race fan, number one Real Housewives fan, has not been asked beyond that.
Okay, so they don't talk about either of those shows, so that's the reason. But I will say that
Housewives.
We'll talk about. Well, so that's the thing, is our co-host Lee Swift was a finalist of season 2 on The Circle, and so we just keep bringing in all of his friends. Who are so we just keep talking about The Circle, but we talk about whatever our guests want to talk about. So like, if you want to, when you got some stuff you want to get off your chest about Housewives or whatever,
I want to talk about the Housewives. We're gonna be honest.
No one I know talks about the Housewives.
Let's talk about the Housewives, Rachel. My partner got me on the Housewives. I'm up with the tea. I'm up with the drama. Let's talk.
The Jersey one.
Trees on in the villain era. Jennifer's going crazy. Sorry to the Agents of Fandom. This is now Housewives pod. Y'all don't have a say.
But I would say Bo-Katan would love this, because she should be doing this instead of just sitting on a throne by herself with a blanket. Again, was so happy she had a blanket there, but nothing else. Was just sitting. I was like, hey,
with her thoughts,
girl.
Psychotic.
Are you good?
No, she's not good though. She's not good. Let's get one thing clear. She is not good. She's stressing right now.
At least
I feel like she's scheming some stuff. She's not good.
I don't think she's scheming. I think she's depressed. I don't think she's scheming. I think she's just simply depressed. Because she was ready to.
Actually, friend? What?
They didn't start taking his helmet off a little bit more, because I think he's going to start questioning the children of the watch more. I heard a cat.
Here he is.
I heard. I think the show is going to shift, and I think Din is going to start showing his face more at some point. Because we saw in season 2, he showed it a lot more than in season 3.
True. Garrett, what are you hoping for out of the rest of season 3? It's off to a great start. Is there any characters you'd like to see, plot points addressed? What are you hoping for?
I mean, I'd love to see Sabine come in. The more I was kind of staunchly against it at the beginning. The more I talk about it, the more I'm like, yeah, it makes sense to do that. So we should do it. I want them to like, I don't know, repopulate Mandalore. I want them to, that's like the trajectory I want to go. And I want to not like, okay, that was a poor wording. I don't want them to together repopulate, but I want them to bring civilization back to Mandalore.
There is
if Din and Bo-Katan
Mandalore after dark.
If Din and Bo-Katan do some repopulating, I'm okay with it.
No. Din is in love with Cobb Vanth. We cannot.
Yeah, Layla would kill us.
Layla is my one ally in this world. I think
Layla would kill us for shipping anything else.
I convinced my daughter.
Put those hands together.
If you pitched thruple.
That's what I'm saying. Let's put those hands together. They got a lot of repopulating to do. Cobb's gonna get in there too.
Yeah, you know what? There's other Mandalorians. We don't need to repopulate. That was just a bad word choice. I'm sorry. This is not Mandalorian After Dark. I know we want it to be, but that's my bad. That's my bad. Bonk. Bonk.
Anytime we
Bonk.
can
Bonk.
bring in the Agents of OnlyFans, I'm here for it.
Oh my god.
True.
Thank you.
I've seen Narcos. I think it'd be great.
But yeah, there's like, I do think this is like this. It's with the Ahsoka show coming. It does kind of seem like the Rebels crew and the Mandalorian crew are going to eventually start interacting, and that is something I'm very excited about. I just had the thought, well, you were talking, Garrett. Oh, I swear, Shadow, if you knock down any of those, I'm going to be pissed. But lost my train of thought. Let's get it back.
I cannot get my eyes off of this.
The next, who's the next person who's going to level? Who's the next one who's going to level up Grogu in the Force? Who's the next one who's going to teach him a few
we're
things?
in the shadow.
It's Ezra.
Wait, hold on. We're in the Shadow show because Shadow is
TJ is doing his damnedest to distract us from this, and it is just not working.
We're like, no, Shadow is not getting over.
Ruben's like, I'm just gonna put TJ's picture up on the screen so that everyone has to watch this.
He's a Mandalorian fan because who did he leave up? We got Cobb Vanth still, or sorry, not Cobb Vanth. We got Cad Vane still up there. We got Grogu, we got Ahsoka, we got Thrawn, and he just knocked over Kylo, Luke, and Darth. So he's a fan of the Disney Plus series.
No notes. We watched that in slow motion too. That was
the next person who is going to be training Grogu with the Force.
I agree with you.
Ezra.
I agree with you. That makes a lot of sense. I can't wait to see what Ezra's been up to because that's one of my favorite characters in Star Wars too. That's such an awesome character. Ezra is so fun, so great. So is the Jedi that we needed in the Clone Wars. You know, we needed more Jedis like that. I say we, like I was there.
Yeah.
You were there. You were in the fight.
We were on the front lines. We were out here in the Clone Wars, and we needed more Jedi like that. I do think we are going to get some type of, if not see him, get Ezra mentions in this season of The Mandalorian, because if not, I don't think they would have shown us the Purgles in hyperspace.
Yeah, I agree. And we have a casting, right? Is that that's true, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got the casting, we got Sabine, we got Ezra. I'm so excited about this. I think it's going to be coming this season, but maybe not. If it's going to come in the Ahsoka show or it's going to come this season, but I think this season's going to lead into it. Before we get out of here, Rachel, you don't have to apologize for telling us about the Padre Pascal. Tell us about it. When a new episodes drop? What platforms can we find it on?
Well, we have like 3 episodes dropping every week because Pedro Pascal's busy. But you can listen to us on YouTube podcasts, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
The YouTube, the podcasts, all those.
The YouTube,
the ether, it's there.
If you go to Padre Pascal, you can find it. You can find me. I also have the Fordcast, a Harrison Ford podcast where I talk about Harrison Ford's movies and shows. And you can see my stuff on the Mary Sue and Glider.
Can we talk about shrinking?
I love shrinking so much.
Shout out season 2, baby.
Season
2. So excited. Also, I sincerely hope that Harrison and Pedro share the stage at the Oscars for you, Rachel.
I'm gonna
because,
die.
You're gonna have a meltdown.
Yeah, the Academy would kill me. Like if that was the case, like truly saw that and was like, why? Who did this to me as a human being? That's not fair. It's not fun. It hurts.
It's fun for us.
I'll die. I will just combust. I'm getting, right before I go to Star Wars Celebration, I am getting my Indiana Jones tattoo. And I'm like, this is going to either be a blessing or a curse. Because either I'm going to get it, I'm going to go and he's going to like see it and be like, what the fuck? Or I'm going to go and he'll see the hat and it'll be cool. Either way, like, or I won't ever see this in my life. But
No, that's not an option. That's not one of the options that's on the table. So let's just knock that one right back off.
I would die. Speaking of, though, I did forget to say this at the top of the show, DJ, because it does apply, because you got me the Funko. Benjamin Wyatt the cat did meet Benjamin Wyatt, because I interviewed Adam Scott and Benji got to meet him. And when it happened, Adam Scott was like, "Is this Ben Wyatt the cat?" And I was like, "It is." And then Benji instantly was out. But for that one brief moment, Benji met him.
Did he meet my Funko? Did he meet the gift? Because that's really what I
didn't get to bring it in here because I was too afraid with the cat, because the cat was already like, "Why am I in a?"
That's fair.
Because I put him in a bow tie.
And we've seen what happens when you let the cats run wild in the background.
Meanwhile, mine's in here somewhere. He hasn't moved. He's in here.
That's almost scarier. That's almost scarier.
Yeah, I don't know where he is. He's just in here though. Shadow's knocking things over. Benji is just laying in wait. Oh, there's the puppy now.
There's
Obi-Wan got a haircut. He's looking real good. He says he likes your sweater, Rachel, because it's named after him.
It is.
Thank you so much to everyone for tuning in today. You can find this up on YouTube as well as wherever you get your podcasts. The people who are joining live on Twitch, we appreciate you so much. You can find the Agents of Fandom on all the socials, and it's at Agents Fandom on Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. So many great articles up on agentsoffandom.com right now for you to check out. We got news, we got reviews, we got interviews popping like crazy. We're going to have Daisy Jones and the Six interviews coming out later today. If you're going to be later tonight, if you're on listening to this on the podcast feed or on YouTube, those are going to be already out. So make sure you check them out on the Agents of Fandom YouTube page. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us today, and we will catch you next week. Peace.